All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and we are broadcasting live on social media. Can't speak today. This show is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, in participation with the United Public Radio Network. I'm your host, Ryan Stacy. For those who don't know me, I'm a licensed private investigator, and I'm the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. I use my investigative skills to dive headfirst into the hidden mysteries of UFOs, paranormal activity, and consciousness phenomena. So thank you for joining the show. So if you're here, say hello. I see Blank Wall from England. Hello. It's got to be late for you. What time is it? It's got to be 10? 10 at night? It's 5 p.m. Eastern time for me. So thanks for tuning in. I think you're 5 hours ahead. Or are you 8? How far ahead are you? Let me know in the comments. I see hello from everybody there. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, so we got a heat warning in effect. I am in my attic as I usually are. I turn my AC off, so if I start melting, I apologize, but I just wanted the sound to be as best as it could be. But I'm probably going to lose it because it's really hot. So anyways. Okay, so last week's episode, I talked about our investigative and research tools on our website. So I shared that, all the resources that are there that I've used when I've go through my investigations, what I come back to when I need to investigate something on the spot. 10 p.m. Blank Wall says, okay, awesome. I was right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely evening. So last week's episode talked about all those resources that I put on the website that are free. So if you want to bookmark that, if you haven't seen the episode, check it out, episode 5 in the archives. Okay, and today we're going to talk about my visual evidence database, which I created for the Experiencer Support Association website. So this one's going to be a little bit loose. It's not really, I don't really have to read too much other than show you what's going on. I'm in the middle of changing some of the nodes that are on the database right now because I've kind of changed the way that I want to do my research. Everything that's on this database has been reviewed by me, and the stuff that has been inputted is only relevant to the cases that we've added to the website. So I don't necessarily want to have everything unless I've had my hands in everything, right? You know what I'm saying? So this is more a resource tool for everybody, but at the same time, it's me showing my own work. If you will. All right. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. So we're into the ultra spectrum, and we'll be right back.
The ultra spectrum, putting it all together.
All right. So the visual evidence database can be found in two ways. It can be found on the website homepage. So for those of you who don't know the website, it's experiencersupport.org. I'll put it in the comments here for everybody who's in the chat. There's a few of you in the chat not saying hello. Say hello. Let me know you're there. I see a Kenneth Bird who liked a Margaret Mastromatio. Also liked, and a Marty King shot. Thank you for liking. Everyone else, let me know you're there. All right. So if you scroll down on the homepage, all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see this map. Last week's episode, I discovered that this map wasn't working properly. I spoke to the tech team. The tech team got it fixed. So, props to them for getting it fixed in time for this week's episode. So thank you so much. And this is what we're going to talk about. So if you see it here on the homepage, you can explore it a little bit in small scale here, but you can also visit the whole map by clicking this link here. You can also find it under the Investigations tab and click Visual Evidence Display. Visual Evidence Database. All right. We got another reaction here. Let me see what we got here. New Light Paranormal, thank you for the love. Is that a love you sent me? Yes, thank you. Angela Ellison, I see that you like. Thank you so much. Thanks for the like. All right. So thanks for tuning in. All right, sorry about the ads. The ads are how we get paid. All right, so this database, I kind of briefly touched it, but today I'm gonna dive in depth. If you're watching live, please let me know where you are. We can take a look and see what I have. If I don't have anything inputted in that area, it's probably because nobody in that geographical area has submitted any reports yet. So if you would like your area to be on the map, so to speak, you got to make a report. All right. So this map was created in response to MUFON's UFO Stalker. UFO Stalker has pinpoints every single case in the database. But the problem with that is that it even indexes things that have been identified, cases that have been closed, cases that are not relevant to the phenomena. The problem I have with that is because it doesn't indicate that they've been solved. So the point of this database is to have things that remain unknown. Okay. I also wanted to, as an investigator, I like Google Earth. I use Google Earth a lot to put pins and stuff to triangulate, but I wanted to have something that I could visually display patterns. So during the research that I've done so far, I've decided to track, again, using the ultra spectrum classification system. So for those of you who don't know what that is, you got to check out one of the previous episodes where I talk about the ultra spectrum classification system, which is a system I have created. So we have aerial activity, bases and stations, because when I do declassified documents, bases and stations come up, and that's important. When you have a UFO sighting, I want to track these that are known. I'm not going to spend any time listing every single UFO base. Or every single military base. I'm only going to list the ones that pop up during the investigations, because then when I do my compare and contrast, I'm working within the information I've already collected. If I put all the stuff in the map, if I need to see anything else, I can use Google Maps for that. Okay. Beings observed, declassified event. When I update this plugin, I'm probably going to remove a lot of the declassified events, because most of the declassified events are documents talking about research and not actual events. So I'm gonna minimize how many reports are on here. Okay. Government buildings, that's important. If they are mentioned in documents or in reports, I put those in. Mines have come up a few times. So observatories, pyramids, residual evidence, schools, and visitation. So I'm in the works of adding a few other things to this map, such as star forts, ley lines. I got pyramids in here. Obelisks is something I wanted to add to this. But I haven't really come across anything specific that was that had to do with my work. So the way this map works is right now it shows everything that I have inputted. It's not a lot, because less is more, but I'm going to be adding a lot more in the next few weeks. Where we go here. So if you want to see everything is here. But if you are in a discipline where you specifically want to focus on aerial activity, and you don't care about the beings, and you don't care about residual evidence like crop circles, and you don't care about those who were visited, you might want to uncheck those things. And that's how that map is going to work. It's going to change what you're looking at depending on what you're measuring. All right. So this is a tool and aid for you to use continuously as you work. And if you have if you're using this, then you check out that episode when I talked about the reporting system, and submit your report, because then we'll add it to the database. If you're doing this work, this is a place for us to house your work. It's called the Experiencer Support Association. It's an association. I'm the guy doing a lot of the work right now in terms of investigations, but I could if you got cases out there, you got things out there that deserve to be on this map, let us know. Okay, so aerial activity does take up the brunt of everything, because that's where I started. That's where my roots are. Same with the declassified documents. Then you start getting into locations like mines, observatories, pyramids, and whatnot, schools, government buildings. Take everything away, you got nothing. So if I were to just look at aerial activity, without all the other stuff. If that button would work, there we go. We're going to see all the UFOs. Let's take a look at beings observed. So we do have some beings observed. Okay. And we do have residual evidence. Otherwise, the category wouldn't be there. So there's 2 things left behind. Okay. And then everything else, like mines, observatories, schools, government buildings, those are just proximity to let me know what's nearby. It came up. I'm adding it to the map. It's important to know because I'd like to know. So when you're using this map, you just basically figure out what it is you want to track. You have the options here for labels and not labels. So your map, you can change your map color, okay, terrain, all right, standard. You can also go to, I like using it at the satellite. You can add labels. So this is going to help you understand where everything is. So all that stuff is here. The top right-hand corner. For those listening to radio, you got to head over to the website to see this. You can also toggle a full view, right? And then you can see everything here on your screen that way. I like to work usually without the labels, but sometimes I'll add the labels on. Okay. So the way you use this map, you simply just zoom in. Okay. So if I were to go and focus on aerial activity, so let's start with that and see where this takes us.
Aerial activity, sensory display.
Okay. So aerial activity, UFOs, UAPs, paranormal orbs, whatever you want to call it, something that is happening in the sky that can't be explained, all here. Majority of my work is in Canada. Surprise, I'm Canadian. Sorry, not sorry. I do have some United States reports, which is interesting because majority of my following is American, but yet you guys don't report. Are you guys just spying? I don't know. But, I don't think I have anything for you in England there, Blank. Let me see here. Oh, I do. There is one here in the United Kingdom. So let's start there since I know where you're from. So for those of you in the comments, tell me where you're from and where you're listening to, and then we can go there next. So this is going to give you a little recap to kind of make you a little curious about going in here. I do apologize. Everything's off the cuff. I don't read from a script or anything like that. I'm not used to talking out loud and talking to myself. So, I'm used to talking to people. But anyways, I'm a little self-conscious here today. So the what you're going to see here and what this means, and you click on all of these things, all these plot points, you're going to see the same information. But we're going to focus on this UK one since I know I have somebody staying up late burning the midnight oil in England there. We have the classification system code here. So this is going to be UPR 2019-0017. So what that means is the Ultra Spectrum Paranormal Report 2019. So that's the year. And then it's case number 0017. Okay. Every case is important, but not every case ends up on the database. All right. These are things that I'm stumped with, things that shouldn't be, don't appear to be normal. If I learn that these things are normal, then I'll remove them. Okay. And you will also notice that I do not have the Tic Tac, the Nimitz, or the gimbal videos pinpointed on this map because they have been identified as drones. I've seen the work. I've done the work. We knew it was drones before this stuff came out. That's just the way that it is. So I will not be adding those to the reports. I couldn't say I will not. I'm just not going to at this time, unless more evidence comes forward, and whatnot. So then you get a little bit of a snippet of what's going on. And if you're curious enough, you click Learn More, and it's going to bring you to the next page where you get the details of the case. So let's talk about this one. UPR 2019-0017, aerial activity. Rightfully so. So when you scroll down here, some of these videos, some of these cases will have a video. This is called TESA's Most Wanted. And these videos were created as a recreation of the event based on the testimony from the experiencer. And after we've done the work, the idea here is to what is it? The idea is to kind of visualize what they had gone through in an attempt to have other people report because they know they've seen the same thing, trying to get their interest. So I'll see if I can play this video. There might not be any audio. There is music in the background, but there's no words. There's no voice. So if you can't hear it, just read the words. Okay, so I just realized that the radio probably couldn't hear any of that, or well, could just hear music. So if you're listening to this on the radio, head over to the website and check out the video. I am not sure if I can narrate over top the video. So let me just play this, and those of you guys listening, let me see if you can hear me talk over this. So I'm going to say encountered with low moving UAP. So I'll just type what I said. Encounter with low moving UAP. Low moving UAP. All right, there's a test. So put that in the comments. Let me know if you heard it. If you didn't hear it then I won't talk over it. But for radio, I'm going to have to figure out a way for you guys to tune in. It is a video. It's got a drawing. It recreates the event. And it explains it. Now, that video also underneath it is a witness statement. So this statement, blank wall says only 30 miles away. So that location is 30 miles away from you. Interesting. So if you made a report and it happened to make it to the, to the unidentified category by the end of the year, and we add it to the system, then you'll be able to, we'll be able to put that on the map. If you, for you, blank, if you're just new tuning in, submit a report right here at the top right-hand corner. Okay, that's where you go to make your report. For those, so can anybody comment on whether or not they could hear me talk over the video? So we'll continue here. Witness statement says, so radio, you can hear this. Walking along with my friend's name redacted along Myrtle Street with an unknown elderly gentleman some short distance in front of us. Approximately 7 p.m., a dull orange-red ball of light appeared from our left above the rooftops, moving at a fast walking pace. It crossed our path and carried on a rooftop height, moving east-southeast. The elderly gentleman stumbled as he looked up at the ball of light. The object disappeared out of sight over the rooftops. Right? So that is the witness statement. Below that is the original evidence. So this is a drawing that was prepared by the experiencer. And I love when experiencers know how to draw. because this is really detailed. Use graph paper. There's perspective here. And this really lends to the credibility of this person recalling this event. This particular event took place in 1967. So I got the report in 2019, right? So a lot of people take a long time before they decide to report, and that's okay. Trust is earned, confidence, and all this other stuff. Maybe reported to other places like MUFON, and they didn't do a really good job and things like that. There's lots of reasons behind it, but here we are. In this image, he's able to draw very good detail of the intersection in which this occurred. He's even put the cardinal directions there. So I'm over-explaining for the viewers because of radio, okay? So in this particular, looking at this image without reading everything else, he has indicated in the top left corner that this is in Arwick, Manchester, United Kingdom, 1967. Then below that, you have an reddish orange ball of light, which appears to be larger than the beings, the individuals on the ground. And it was moving in an east to southeast direction of movement. And it has little characters at the bottom pointing it up. So below this, okay, when I input this, these are the parts from the reporting system that had come in that are important to understand how significant this case is. The full details of why this case is important and how it's measured will be found in the annual data sets. For those of you who didn't see that episode, I think that's episode 2 or somewhere down those lines, you will find the report here in 2019 Ultra Spectrum Paranormal Report. So it's there. Okay, that's where you get that information from. Because you're going to look at this and be like, that's not information. How did you come to these conclusions? Why is it on there? All those questions can be answered if you look at that. All right. I don't need to answer these questions. These are just rapid, quick things for me to use and everybody else to use as well. I was the lead investigator on that. And then we have these categories. So when you submit your report, these categories will come up and you will answer these questions. I provide this as information, as a quick reference. It does not identify you. But it helps understand the experience. So for some people may not actually know how to interpret this. So the report category, ultra spectrum. So that means it was a civilian report. Report type is an experiencer. So it came from an experiencer, not another investigator. The report number is UPR 2019-0017. And then the experiencer status is already in survey. So that means that this experiencer has reported a few times before. So there could be other cases inside the database that are linked to this experiencer. I know that. You don't need to know that because we need to protect the identity of the experiencer. You need to trust that because I know who these people are and I can answer these questions. Okay? That's why I put it out there. And I want to explain this so you guys understand what I do with the information. That is explained when you do the report. But, there's certain things I have to show. I got to show my work to a certain extent. Experiencer request. So the experiencer specifically requested that I investigate and report. And that report analysis will be in the 2019 survey. Experiencer ID. So this is important. If I genuinely believe that this person has encountered something, don't know what it is, can't figure it out, don't have to put a label on it, we're going to assign an ID number. Why? Because this experiencer may report again in the future. And then we need to compare how many of these cases because some of the cases we've solved, some of the cases haven't been solved. But the experiencer is the constant. So we give them an ID number, and we try to understand the growth of this experiencer. What have we taught them? What have they learned? What is specific about this? All these characteristics. So we give them a number. So they get a bit of an ID card point is that. And that's theirs for life. Okay. Sex is important. Male. Okay. In this particular one, blood type is unknown. So this person chose to not provide their blood type. And that's okay. It's a choice. We ask that question. It's good to know. But if they say they didn't provide it, but it says unknown, and that's more than likely. And I'm going back to 2019. So what is that? 5 years ago. If it's unknown, then maybe they just don't know what their blood type is. If the case was significant and I needed to know the blood type, I would work with the experiencer to answer that question. Eye color, not applicable, or not available, wasn't answered. Age at event is 10. The age of the event is important, not the age of the person as they are. So 10 years old, they witnessed this, 1967. So that puts their birth date at 57. Fast forward to 2019, how old are they? And now they're reporting it. There's some length of time here. I'm not interested. I want to know how old you are, because when I know how old you are when you have this experience, it gives me these variables of what you're learning, what grade you're in, what your atmosphere is, and things like that. It helps me understand, and that's important. Number of witnesses is listed as 3. And if we go back up to the image, we see that. We got the old man over there in the corner by the lamppost. And then we have the original witness and his friend in the item here, intersecting, pointing up. And we're unsure if the old man did see it, but it's possible. And then the feeling, positive. So this is good, because not everybody who has an unexplained experience has a negative attachment to it. There's that stigma, and this is very fascinating, very interesting, because if it's positive, that tells me that there's no trauma. There may not be trauma attached to it. If I got other cases in the way, you may not be in a hurry to get an answer. So this kind of is a triage question, but it's also good to know that you had a positive experience. And if it's positive, perhaps that means it's a known thing. It wasn't a threat. Who knows? That's speculation, but I'm just, who knows? Okay. Injuries, no injuries. That's a good thing. That's a positive. Event date was 1967-09-20. So September 20th, 1967. But then they reported 2019 on March 24th. All right. A lot of time in between. So that means information could have been forgotten, the location could have been changed, all these other things, blah, blah, blah. And we test that when we challenge the experiencer, just to make sure that it's the best of the recollection, what they can remember, and then go from there. Time of the event, 7:10 p.m. Time zone or event is Europe and London, so that's important. Okay, so when you do investigations and you get the time, you must know the time zone, because he's in the UK. It's not the same time, as we discussed with Blank Wall there, who's in the comments. It's 10 p.m. Well, I guess it's 10:30 right now in England, right? So 7:10, so 3 hours back from 10 p.m. Would be 3 hours back, would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, right? So a lot of people, when you work internationally, this is important. Okay, for you to change the time zone and work in that, especially when you're using astronomical software to try and look at what may be in the sky at the time. Because if you're sitting here in Eastern time zone and you're looking at 7 p.m. Eastern time, you're looking at the sky at the wrong time. Okay. Duration, minute. So it was 1 minute. So that's how long they saw the object. So it was quick. It wasn't too long, a minute to cross the sky. Who knows? It gives me an idea, right? Time of day. Well, it was nighttime-ish, technically, because it was after a certain time, 6 p.m. So it's considered nighttime. Event type, isolated. So what that means is this was a one-time event. This experiencer haven't had any events like this prior to that and hasn't had any events after that. So this is just a one-off event. If it was reoccurring, then maybe there's some repeated activity that we can look at. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for chiming in. Hello. Get any more Sandor Fahir or Fayer? I'm assuming that's French. My French sucks. Sorry. Welcome. Thanks for liking and share. Please share. Okay. Number of objects was 1. Okay, so we're looking for 1 object, isolated event, 3 witnesses. That kind of gives you an understanding of how that's done. Has this person previously reported? The answer was no. So it's a new experiencer, hasn't reported to anybody. That's what that tells me. This is their first time experiencer. And that's an indication to me that we need to pay a little bit more attention to it because they haven't done this before. Sometimes we get veteran reporters and all these other things, and they just want to add it to the research or do whatever you need to do. Evidence type. So this is evidence type is called analogical because this is a drawing. This is all I have is a drawing. Okay. Rating evidence is 4. So if we go back to investigations and we look at the ultraspectrum classification system, so I'm going to open this into a new tab. Those of you on radio are going to have to, again, pop over to the website. When we scroll down here, we're going to see my evidence rating scale. So I classified that as a level 4, which was good because it was the original photo only, but it was a drawing. Oh, right, no, because I have a photo. I didn't put that photo up there yet. The reason why the photo isn't up there is because it's in the report. So then we come back to category. So again, with the ultraspectrum, I consider this a sensory display. So we go back to the ultraspectrum classification system. So for those of you who haven't seen that episode, check it out in the archives. So I classified this as a sensory display. And then over, let's come back here. Sorry, tabs are loading up. Aerial activity type 2. So what that means, sensory display, aerial activity type 2. So it's a light. That's it. So when you're identifying these objects, see if I can zoom in here for those on the thing here. So sensory display, aerial activity, level 2, which is a light. And that's it. I cannot look at this object and put a label on it and say it's a UFO because I don't know, like it's an object, it's unidentified and it's flying, but is it flying? Is it intentionally using some sort of technology to fly? Or is it just floating? It's not an unidentified floating object. Those are called balloons, right? I don't also it could be a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, which, but it's a light in the sky. It was dark as well, ish. I don't know how dark it gets in September at 7 p.m., but the sun should be down, and it could be an object with a light attached to it. We don't know. So that's why I chose to use that particular classification for this. If you want to call it a drone, if you want to call it a craft, you want to call it a UAP, go ahead. I'm not calling that because there wasn't enough evidence and there still remains not enough evidence for me to give it anything more than that. Now, the archetype that I chose is a UAP because it resembles that of a UAP because it's unidentified aerial phenomenon. It resembles that category. But that category wasn't created by me. That was created by the U.S. government. So, that's why I have all these things in here because we don't want to massage the data. We don't want to make assumptions, and we don't want to speculate on facts that aren't there. Okay? Disposition is unidentified simply because I couldn't identify it. But that does not mean that it's extraterrestrial. It just means I don't know what it is. I haven't been able to figure it out. All the information is inside that report, but maybe one day I'll be able to figure it out. But that's because there wasn't enough information to do that. Now, it was also classified as a close experience. So the close experience, according to the ultraspectrum classification system, is a CE, which close experience is more than 100 feet, but less than 500 feet. Okay, that's the proximity evaluation of that. Then we get into subclass, which is uninvited, which simply means they were going about their day and they saw it. That's important to understand. It was uninvited versus invited. In an invited example is that I'm meditating or I'm intentionally calling it, and this is a response because we need to test whether or not people can call source and they get an immediate reaction. How does that work, right? So if it's uninvited, it's likely that this could have been a Chinese balloon, could have been Could have been a drone. Could have been a bunch of other things. Still could have been. But it's still odd because of the shape that was classified. And it gets added to the database because I got to compare and contrast. Evidence level is 2. So back to the system here. Pardon me. What did I misspoke earlier. Evidence rating was 4. But the evidence level was 2. What did I do here? All right. Evidence level is 4. So that's this one here. So the evidence level is a 4 because there was 2 to 3 witnesses. Okay. I consider that a more strong piece of evidence because there are more witnesses. In the Hynek classification scale, the witness category is at the bottom. They think that a lot of witnesses mean a lot. I don't think so. If the witnesses don't have any evidence, they don't have anything significant, or they didn't even see it, the witnesses mean nothing. So when you have to get a level 4, we have to look through you have to have all the levels below it. So it was seen. So level 1 is there. So there was sight. It was heard, I'm sure. Evidence, trace evidence. So we have analogical evidence because he drew it. Then we have material evidence, which is a demonstrative. So he was able to demonstrate it because we have the documents from the report. And then because we have witnesses, that's why it's 2 to 3. So when we get a level 5 is when you do contact or you intentionally ask and you get an immediate response with validation. It's not just a coincidence. Like, hey, what is my name? And then you hear your name. That's validation for back and forth communication. You can't just be like, show me a sign and then a star twinkles. That's not validation. You assume that because that happened immediately, that was contact. But that's not always the case. Okay. So then we get into the actual rating. Pardon me. I did level that to as bad because it's third party or non-original material. But is also the drawing only. So that should be classified as level 3. Full disclosure, I did change a few things since 2019, so that might not reflect as accurate, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the most part. Evidence type is A. So then I selected level 2, evidence type A, which is analogical, which matches with a drawing. Okay, so then here you have your categories: aerial activity, light, sensory display, ultraspectrum, paranormal report, EID, 004, all these tags. So if you're in the United Kingdom, you want to click on the United Kingdom tab or category. Click on this, come on. Then you'll see. So right now, this guy is holding a placeholder for the United Kingdom. So blank, if you make a report, you put yourself on the map, give some more credibility to the Commonwealth. All right. If you want, EID 004, if you want to track an experiencer, now this experiencer has a few other cases. This is another one that it's done because this is by the same experiencer. Then I can start to measure the patterns with that experiencer ID number. Okay, you see how that works. Lisa, I see your comment. I'm going to get to it in a minute. If you want to see everything that is a light, sensory display, all that stuff, you just click these tags. Okay. So that's essentially how the virtual database works. What I'm going to do for future episodes is I'm probably just going to do the same thing and explore the database and let you know some cases that I've done and explain it in such a way. I'll just ad-lib it so you're aware, answer questions, and see how far we can get. And in the meanwhile, behind the scenes, I am working on getting more cases added to the database. So then I can talk about current things and whatnot, if you will. So let's get to Lisa's comment here. If anybody else has any questions, let me know. Excuse me. Lisa says, I seen a sphere size of the moon moving slowly, glowing a bright orange until it disappeared into the clouds. What was it? Well, Lisa, I don't know what it is. I haven't seen anything like it. I can talk about your case. I certainly can. But then I would identify you on the map. So you know how the system works. You are an experiencer. If I have your permission, then I can show that and talk about that. But then people listening, like a few million people, are going to know your ID number. So I will save your case for a future episode at some point, not the next episode, because people are going to assume that. And then we'll go from there. Because I just want to keep your ID number private, if that's okay with you. If you want me to share it, but I'm not responsible, for people linking you to these ID numbers. Okay, but I can say to Lisa's experience that I have investigated many of her cases. She has interesting things going on. I consider Lisa, just want to hold her up here, as I would say patient, experiencer 1, experiencer 0. When I was with MUFON, it was she was my last case with MUFON. And then she was my first case with TESA, when I realized that, there's something MUFON is just not enough here. There's this bridge. There's more. I got to figure this out, because this person is experiencing so much that she has written a book. I think 2 books now. Is it 2 books or 1? At least 1. And she's made her rounds now. She's comfortable. And she's actually a guest on our podcast, Beyond The Tinfoil Hat, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the same spot with Danny Whitson. She gets to talk to Danny, my friend, on that. And we're excited to have her back on the show. Lisa, I will try my best to watch it. As many of you guys know, I'm a dad now, and I got a kid, and I got fatherly duties to take care of. But I will do my best to listen live. If I can, I'll definitely catch it on the replay. I always catch it on the replay. I have to. But Lisa, we're going to put a pause on showing your case, because I don't want it linked. Okay. Blank Wall says, I was abducted when I was 5. Okay. So Blank, for your, thank you so much for coming forward and say that. Now, for your benefit, if you go to experiencesupport.org and you click on submit a report, I'm going to walk you through. Okay. Click submit a report. It's going to open up, and it will explain to you the reporting system. You say yes. If you would like to get into it, you're going to click I am an experiencer. Now, because you specifically said I was abducted, this is considered a visitation. You say abducted because that could be a term that's always used, and that's what's coined. Without asking you, is there an assumption that it's negative? Is that why you choose the word abduction? I choose visitation because then we don't automatically assume it's a negative experience. So I'll ask you, if you can answer before I got a few minutes before I have to log off, was that a positive or negative experience for you? So then you click I'm an experiencer and want to make a report. How many reports you're going to make? Well, depending on if it's an abduction, if you saw a UFO with this abduction, then you need to make more than 1 report. Okay, so you need to make a report for the crafts that you've seen and a report for the beings that you've seen. Okay, and then as well as a report for the visitation. 3 reports are needed for that. Why are they separated? Because they're 3 different things, and I need to understand what to remember of each of those parts, so that way I can determine the truth within all of that event. You get in a car accident, you got to look at the vehicle, measure the vehicle. Different. Then you got to look at the road and understand the road. Then you got to look at the other person and understand them and their perspective. All of these things need to be measured separately. When you have a database that takes all that information in, nobody, I don't care what experience you have, it's a mess. It's a big chunk of information, and it takes too much time to separate it. So if you take the time to answer the questions in the order that I prepared, when I get the report, it's split up in a way that I can understand to do my work. Okay, I've created that to be conditional logic to make it easier for the experiencers. So when you get down here, you said it's a positive experience. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that you're thinking positive of it, because not every single experience is negative. And if you're feeling good about it, having an abduction with a positive experience, like that is phenomenal. I am intrigued. So please make a report. Are you or and if you are making a report, use your YouTube handle in the notes, so that way I can remember that this was when it comes into me that we were talking here. When you get down to the experiencer categorization, let me find it here. What type of experience you're reporting? So you would say abduction. Okay, so abduction is the action or an instance of forcibly taking someone away against their will. Okay, if that makes sense to what you've experienced, but now you said it's positive, so it wasn't really against your will. So aerial phenomenon, astral projection, apparition, crop formation, human initiated contact would fit if you asked for a visitation and you received it. Okay. But I don't really have a category for anything outside of that. So abduction is going to be your best bet. Okay. Perhaps I can change that wording to make it a little bit more clear. But if it doesn't fit, then just put what best fits. Okay. Then the next question is going to be, which of these best describes your captor? So I want to know, was it an entity, an extraterrestrial, a human, shadow figure, cryptid, okay, or other? And if it's other, then explain it. Okay. What best resembles or is close to? If it's other, doesn't match these categories, then that's going to give me information to add here to have more options for future reporters. Okay. So fill out that report, submit it, answer all that other stuff, and then we'll go from there. All right. Thank you for opening up and sharing that. All right. Lisa says, sphere I saw made me think of the sphere I seen in the field as a child. Yes. So Lisa, that case that we just looked at does look similar to, because I think if I recall, and it's going back a few years, I see it. I think you saw it far away and then it got closer. And as it got closer, its shape turned, went from orange to beigey, pinkish, and then it started to have this like metallic kind of indented copper tint to it or something with these little rivets or something around it as it got closer to you. I think if I'm remembering correctly. But the farthest part back, was a similar orb. And this orange orb is common, very common. A lot of people see that. But is it itself an orb or an extension of a craft? I don't have an example here, but a flashlight, you hold the flashlight up, you see the light, you can see the circle in the dark. You don't know it's a flashlight until you see it, or until I come up behind you and you trespass it and I bonk you on the head with it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. I'm just joking. But you see what I'm saying? Like that's something we have to be aware of. A light is a good indicator that there's usually a craft attached to said light. To suggest that light is independent on its own and moving is a whole other can of worms, but it's not outside the realms of possibility. All right. Blankwell says, my pleasure, Ryan, and thanks. No problem. Thanks for chiming in. That's what I'm here for. Genie Lamp Studios, my friend, Greg, thank you for liking. I see that you're here. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast could suck some episodes. These podcasts could be good some episodes. I'm here for you. I'm not here for me. I've been requested to do this podcast. So for those of you who have participated and chime in or watching this on the replay, try to catch it live, because what I want to do is engage with you guys and teach you what you need to know, or advise or educate or suggest or whatever, or perhaps learn. I want all that stuff. That's what I want from you. So the more I get from you, the more I can communicate in this podcast, and somebody else listening to it on another date might get some benefit from it. For those of you, dropping off, I get boring at the beginning, whatever. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. This is free labor, so you get what you get. All right. So I got 8 minutes left. Don't really have enough time to talk about another case, but I'm definitely going to continue reading cases in the future episodes. So I don't really have anything else to explain on how TESA works, so it's nothing but cases that I'm going to have to do. So we've done the aerial activity, and then we also, so if you zoom in here, you're going to see these plot points, these little numbers here. They're going to tell you that, there's significant things in the area. So this one here, aerial activity. We also have a being that was observed. These two cases are separate, but close in proximity. This one here, this is a declassified document. This is the Shag Harbor incident. Those of you who know that, October 11th, 1967, in Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia. So in terms of proximity, this is important because I investigate everything separately, but then I input it on the map to see patterns. And just because they're close by doesn't mean they're related. We've got different years. 1967, this being observed was in 1978, and this aerial activity was in 2019. Yes. Statement was made in 2020. So, many years apart, different things. So there's many variables in here, but it's significant. So as I get more reports, more data points come in, and then we can start to put pieces together to see the pattern. But what I'm looking for is like the visuals. This guy looks like this. Okay, how many other people look like that? Here's a white orb. This is a screenshot from a video. We don't have time to play it. Maybe I'll start there next week. We'll see where I go. Start with England, move my way from the east to the west, and we'll see how far we get, and go from there. But this is interesting because when I investigate another case, then I need to look at what I've already done and try to get an idea of what's going around. And then when I measure other buildings and stuff, so like Dominion Observatory, okay, so this is where Project Magnet occurred. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, I just released the declassified document for that, or one of them anyways. Beaver Barracks, this was mentioned. So these are all bases that used to exist back in time. They're not the same buildings anymore. So this is important because especially Beaver Barracks is now an apartment complex. But this is where it used to be. So I still need to measure it. And of course, all this stuff gives you information of what it used to be or where it was, but I still need to measure or put it on the map because at some point in time, they used to do their UFO stuff in this apartment building. All right. Beaver Barracks may still be in the bottom. I haven't been there. I don't know. There's not enough information online for me to determine that. But that's where that comes in handy. You're going to see a lot of stuff over here because this is Ottawa. All right, Department of Defense. You're going to see a lot of that stuff. But then the Department of National, so the NRC. But then you can obviously follow this river. And if you understand trade routes and how everything works, follow that river all the way up, Ottawa River, all the way up. It should bring you up here. And you get beings observed further north. And you keep following. That's going to eventually lead you, I went too far, to NORAD. Okay. So there's a reason why these things are in place. Christopher McLean, thank you so much for sending me that UFO. Good to see you. Anyone else chimed in? I'm looking at the time. So that's it. We're going to end it there. I do have to say some things. Let me see here what we got. So yes, tomorrow's podcast, Beyond the Tinfoil Hat with Danny Whitson, will have Lisa, what we talked about. Lisa's going to share her experiences and more on there. And hopefully it'll be a great conversation. It's good to have you back. Let me see what else we're doing here. I'm still looking for writers. If you guys want to write for TESA, actually, let me show you quickly. On my screen here. On the TESA website, just for updates. I am cooking. It is hot up here. Anybody else got like 35-degree weather and chilling in an attic for an hour? Just published this afternoon is Alex Mistretta's first public article. He usually writes privately. The Last Hominin, Exploring Cryptid Mysteries in Africa. It's a great read. You want to check that out. And him explaining how he got into cryptozoology is more of a discovery and all that other stuff. So that's there. Canada's involvement in Arrow's historical report. So I wrote this article just kind of highlighting the stuff that was in Arrow's report. So that was last week. I don't think I talked, or 2 weeks ago. And then this Project Magnet, chronologically of UFO sightings and investigations. So that document I had released the other day as well, so the 14th, so 3 days ago. And if you click on that, you're going to see the declassified document when it pops up here. You're going to see it transcribed, so that way it's searchable on our database. And then you're going to see, of course, all the tags at the bottom, so that way we can still match it. If you guys are looking to volunteer your time, I got thousands and thousands of documents that need to be declassified. If you're an investigator and a researcher and want to help with investigations, send an email, admin@experiencersupport.org. All right. That's basically it, kids, because I have to go. So one more thing before we go, though. As I mentioned earlier, if you've had a mysterious encounter with the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrial, hit the wrong button, or any paracryptids phenomenon, head over to experiencersupport.org, purple button on the top right corner, and submit your experience. The more reports we get, the more we'll understand this phenomenon and how it affects our people. But the others who have already reported be the example that we are making a difference, and if it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do, and for that, I thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode for the Skeptical Sleuth. We're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We're also broadcasting live on social media, and the show was brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Remember, tune in to tomorrow's podcast. All right, let me see anybody here in the comments. Lisa says, feels like 30 in Windsor. Yeah, it's 19 here. Well, 19 are awesome. You're a little further north, though. I don't know. Can you see into the, I don't know. No, I'm not going to get into that. We'll save that for next episode. So, all right, guys, remember, one truth is enough. One lie is to investigate all truths. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky. And as always, be the world. Peace. See you next week.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
it? If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.